I've been in business most of my life. I've worked with different governments for a large part of that. I think the reality is that at the end of the day, business and government, or whoever the government, have to work together. And this has just been said, business is the economic driver of our economy. I think politicians recognise that. At the moment, we're in this rather febrile run-up to an election. Some wild things get said by different people. That's a bit of a shame, because at the end of the day, and really this is at the heart of my proposals for an infrastructure commission, we have to work together. Government's dependent on industry. Industry likes stable government. It likes continuity. It likes stability of policy. A lot of that debate goes on behind closed doors. And I think, the key is, at the end of the day, we have to work together. And therefore, as soon as this election's over, business will sit down with whoever's in government and I'm sure try and plot the way forward for the UK.
Now, a lot of the proposals that you've made and which Ed Balls is now promising to implement are all about holding ministers to account. How precisely will your commission do that? Well,
the primary role of the commission is to take a 25, 30-year look forward and come up with an assessment of the infrastructure that the country needs in order to provide people with a good standard of living, to provide the electricity, the water and everything else that we need, to make sure we've got the right transport infrastructure in place, to ensure that the British economy can grow, to do all that taking into account the environmental objectives and constraints that we have and that we need to recognise. To present that analysis of need to the government, to Parliament, and for Parliament then to take that on board and to debate it and to, at the end of it, to have voted. And we will then have a long-term assessment of need, which Parliament has actually debated, but they've been given some really, hopefully, sound advice and evidence to enable them to come to those conclusions. That then gets given to the individual sectors. The sectors work up their infrastructure plans. That, again, is then debated and supported by Parliament. And then industry and government hopefully can look forward and know that they've got a stable assessment of the infrastructure that we're going to build for the next 25 to 30 years. And we don't have a constant flip-flopping backwards and forwards between one government and the next, or even between one minister and the next, as we've seen over the last 50 years when it comes to airport capacity.
And briefly to John, the EEF are saying that what's being proposed will not necessarily stop decisions still being made behind closed doors in Whitehall. Do you accept that criticism?
You have to accept the political reality. The political reality is that politicians will, on occasions, react to changing and different circumstances. The key to my proposal is that those fundamental changes, if you've already had a vote in Parliament, a debate in Parliament where all sides have come out with, after debate, an agreement as to the way forward, you then only change that essentially by having another debate.